Well, it's definitely the bleak midwinter out there. And so we are all charged this morning with the responsibility of bringing good cheer and smiles.
I would say
because
right to the front. Move everybody down here. Tell them they have to all sit down.
That's okay, we all have a comfortable place. So, on this bleak morning, welcome everyone to the Franconia Community Church of Christ. Are there any announcements?
We have a council meeting, Bill, on the last Sunday in September, in February, which I believe is the 26th. And it will be a potluck after the service, and so if I could get reports from all the committee heads, I'll compile that, and the budget should go to Marsha, and she'll be compiling that. And we'll have them available by email beforehand, so people can review them.
I shouldn't ask this because I'm not in charge of anything in the church. But is there any issues that will be coming up?
I don't really think so. I think most of it's the biggest issues in the church have been maintenance issues, but not to my knowledge. Nothing controversial to that. Oh, maybe John can come.
John?
Maybe you could bring one.
Once upon a time, I bought lots of controversial issues. But anyway, good. Any other announcements? Hearing no further announcements, may we come together in worship. May we turn our hearts and our minds toward the Holy One, the one who sustains and strengthens us and gives us the courage to move forward. Come and let us worship. Our first hymn is on page 522. It's a very familiar hymn in the Pilgrim hymnal, in the New Century hymnal. I love to tell the story.
It's
Let us say in unison the summary of the law. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. This is the great and first commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments, and all the law and the prophets. Let us say our prayer of confession, saying together, most merciful God, we confess that we have sinned against you, in thought, word, or deed, by what we have done, and by what we have done. We have not loved you with our whole heart. We have not loved our neighbors as ourselves. We are truly sorry, and we humbly repent. For the sake of your Son, Jesus Christ, have mercy upon us and forgive us, that we may do right in your will, and walk in your ways, to the glory of your name. Amen. God never turns God's back on us. God is there for us. And so, when you feel down and depressed, lonely, afraid, know that you can turn to God. God listens. God accepts us. God cares for us. Amen.
Amen.
This is a time in our service when we pass the peace. And I'm noticing that we're sitting closer together nowadays than we used to. Maybe at some point we'll even be able to give hugs, but for now, let's wave at each other. May peace be with you.
Peace with you.
Let us sing together. Today, as we come together, we pray for the families and friends of these people who have recently passed away. Judy, Nikki, Briggs, Ruth Kelly, Curtis Lucas, Rose, Rose. And we pray for these people in need. Cindy Gervais, Joan Sweeney, Richard and Ron, Steve Walker and family, Ira Toll, Bill Soul, David Evans, Susan McLean, Marilyn McMahon, Kurt Luce, Laurie Trishner, Deanna Lees, Annie Barrett, Lincoln Daniel Anderson, and Quentin. Perhaps if there are people not on this list that are in need of our concern and our prayers.
I think we need to pray for the family and friends of the possibly 21-year-old that got killed on Cannon Mountain.
Lord, I'd like continued prayers for our friend Joyce Tucker, who is doing very well in her recovery from cancer. We hope that she continues to progress.
Lord, hear our prayers.
Continued prayers for my friend Karen Santos and lost her brother Kurt Pike to cancer back in June.
Lord, hear our prayers. And we continue to remember the people of Ukraine and all people who are suffering from war.
Lord,
hear our prayers. Let there be peace on earth.
Amen.
Let me with me.
may we say the Lord's Prayer as our Lord has taught us, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come,
Thy will be done.
Done.
On earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us.
And
Lead us not into temptation,
but
but deliver us from evil.
for thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
We come to the time in our service when we share through the offering. Remember that what you give is one thing, but it's what we do with our life that is a true offering and a true thanksgiving for what God has done for us.
This book had been completely decimated. It's no longer missing. So. You can sing it a cappella if you want. You know, it's that.
Praise God from soul. Praise God, all creatures here below. Praise God above the heavenly hosts. Creator, Son, and Holy Ghost. God, take these gifts and take our lives and remold us and make us like thee, divine, that we might serve you. Amen.
Amen.
The next hymn is on page 584 in the new century. I am the light of the world. The words to this hymn are actually a poem written by Howard Thurman, who was in the chapel at Boston University when I was a student there. So I'm very familiar with him and his poetry. Let us sing together. I am the light of the world. The song of the angels The Old Testament scripture reading this morning is taken from the book of Deuteronomy. See, I have set before you today life and prosperity, death and adversity. If you obey the commandments of the Lord your God that I am commanding you today, to love the Lord your God, walking in his ways, and observing his commandments, decrees, and ordinances, then you shall live and become numerous, and the Lord your God will bless you in the land that you are entering to possess. But if your heart turns away, and you do not hear, and you are led astray, to bow down to other gods and to serve them, I declare to you today that you shall perish. You shall not live long in the land that you are crossing the Jordan to enter and possess. I will call heaven and earth to witness against you today that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Choose life so that you and your descendants may live. Here endeth the reading from the Old Testament. The New Testament reading is taken from Matthew, the 2nd chapter, beginning at verse 13. Now after they had left, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, "Get up, take the child and his mother and flee to Egypt, and remain there until I tell you, for Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him." And then Joseph got up and took the child and his mother by night, and they went to Egypt and remained there until the death of Herod. This was to fulfill what had been spoken by the Lord through the prophet, "Out of Egypt I have called my son. When Herod saw that he had been tricked by the wise men, he was infuriated, and he sent and killed all the children in and around Bethlehem who were 2 years old or under, according to the time that he had learned from the wise men. Here ended the reading of Scripture. Well, we all would probably like to take a trip, especially given the last week or so of gloomy days. I can think of some really nice places to go. And it sure would feel good to put your feet in nice, warm, salty ocean water. But this New Year's journey that Mary and Joseph and the baby Jesus took was harsh. It was cruel. It was a long time ago, 2,000 years more or less. You remember the story, how they had really wanted to go home. The trip they really wanted to take was to go back to Nazareth from Bethlehem, where Jesus was born. But that trip wasn't that difficult or that long. Actually, Nazareth was only about 82 miles from Bethlehem. But Joseph had a dream. And his life and their life together as a family kind of tumbled all around them. For God's angel said to them, "Take the babe and his mother and flee into Egypt. For King Herod, if you do not go, will kill your baby Jesus." So now they are refugees, running for their life. And instead of an 8-mile journey, they're traveling over 100 miles south through Gaza to Egypt, what we now call the Sinai Peninsula. It took courage to take this journey. The man who was threatening them, and indeed did carry out his threat, was a puppet king placed there by the Roman Empire. Herod was actually Jewish, but he was so jealous that he had killed one of his wives and his own son, Antipater. And now this mad king was about to kill all the baby boys in Judea so that he would be sure that he would kill the Messiah, Jesus. And so for Mary and Joseph, their New Year's journey was a journey to choose life. Because had they remained, they would have ended up being killed themselves. This church has a great history of settling refugees, people who have been fleeing violence. A few weeks ago, when we had the service here for my son, Yuhang, it was kind of like a reunion of families who we had settled, who came back home, or back to their first home, away from home. And so it was bittersweet But it was wonderful to see the day. I mean, it was bittersweet, but it was wonderful to see so many old friends and people that we had known and had worked with and settled and had been beside them and with them through good times and bad times while they were here. Today, families are fleeing violence and political corruption, as well as extreme poverty in places like Honduras. It was interesting to contrast the celebration of success that we saw in Cece Lobo when she was here in her long quest to become a doctor, and to see in the same room in Littleton when we were at Mary Ann Bond's salon, the family of Francis and Henry Guzman, who fled Honduras because of gang violence. And they intended to come to the United States because some of the people that they knew real well, like me, for example, were here in the United States, but they settled about halfway there. Francis was carried most of the way, or pushed in a wheelchair by Henry and her son, Fernando. So they stopped in a city about halfway up the coastline in Mexico, and they were going to stay there, but they were robbed in that town, and the Mexican government wouldn't give them sanctuary. So they continued their journey. But it's hard for us to imagine the despair that people who are escaping violence can feel, and the utter hopelessness it's in their situation. You can get a glimpse of it sometimes, like the telephone call I got from the Briggs going into the United States, where Frances was calling me to tell us that she was in a long line at the bridge and didn't know what to do, and finally, and we didn't know what to do either. What could we do? I mean, a couple thousand miles away, El Paso, Texas is a long way. But a journalist there pushed Frances up to the front of the line along with Henry and her kids. And of course, we all know the story. They were separated after that. And her kids were separated. One sent to Chicago, one sent to Georgia. And she was separated from Henry, who was in another place. So they were all separated. But they all got back together after a couple of weeks of hard work and a good lawyer. And so, and now they have their own success story to tell. Frances is walking, has a new leg, they have a car, they have shelter in a nice house, they all have work. Life is good for them right now, as it was good for the Cambodian refugees who gathered here about 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago now. But, you know, war, and we see the outcome of war every day nowadays in the news. War, the worst pain in war is not so much that somebody blows up your house or destroys your car or whatever happens in terms of violence or violation of your rights and successes and what you've accomplished in this world. But it's the depression and the despair and the hopelessness that you feel when you have lost everything, when you have to start all over again. I tried to imagine what it would be like to lose my house, a house that I've lived in for a long time, and our home has a special place for us, no matter how humble or magnificent it might be. What it would be like to lose your job or to go down Main Street here in town and not have a penny in your pocket. Or have money maybe that's worthless because of the politics of the situation. Or money that you can't get access to, like the people in Lebanon right now. You put all your money in the Massacola Savings Bank, and then all of a sudden, when you don't have money in your pocket, you go to the bank and they won't give you any money. They won't give you your money. These kinds of realities for many hundreds, maybe millions of people in our world are pretty overwhelming when you think of it. I set before you the ways of life and death. Therefore, choose life. Not Herod's way. Herod's way of cruelty. I was moved by Vladimir Zelensky's speech maybe a month ago now, where he was asked what he most feared about the end of the war. And he said, what I most fear is the desire that our people might have for revenge. We live in a world where it's still an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Not Herod's way of cruelty, but God's road of compassion. Not Herod's way of destruction, but God's road to peace. Not Herod's way of jealousy, but God's road of love. Robert Frost wrote many years ago here in Franconia a poem which we all have come to love. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and I took the road less traveled by, and that's made all the difference. But when Robert Frost wrote this poem, it took him a lot of courage, because before coming to Franconia in 1915, gosh, that's a long time ago, I can't believe, but he was grief-stricken. Two of his children had just recently died. His young son, Elliot, of cholera, and his baby daughter, Eleanor, died as well. And his wife actually suffered bouts of severe depression. And he himself was fighting depression and was in the darkness of despair. He wrote this poem about this time of the year, actually. And you remember the poem he wrote, stopping by woods on a snowy evening. Whose woods these are? I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. In those days, 1915, everybody lived in town. We didn't live on 5-acre lots out in the countryside. Only farmhouses were out there, a few of them we know, Cooley Farm, the Pinestead, and a few others. Most of us, if we lived in 1915, lived in town. My little horse, he writes, I think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. But then in the last stanza, Frost chooses life. New hope. Listen to his words. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. The new year is time for new journeys. I know that we too, like Robert Frost, feel despair. We may be weary, feeling small, and tears are in our eyes. And we whisper, it's just me alone. The challenge before us seems too great, and I am too weak and powerless. And the night is dark, and I am far from home. But it's so often at this dark night moment that God speaks to us. I had a lot of fun showing Cecile around when she was here for the week, about a week ago. And it's great, I love to hear her story, because I know it so well, having accompanied her in her journey to where she is today. But she tells two of the moments when she wanted to quit and give up. We all have those moments when we want to quit, when we want to give up. Well, next week I'll be in Honduras, and I'll be meeting with about 60 high school kids and 14 university students. And I'll be listening to their stories. And they're going to tell me how they want to quit, how maybe they should give up. And I'm going to tell them that I'm on my way, and don't you turn back. You keep on keeping on. Take that word quit. Take it right out of your vocabulary. Because you are somebody, you are God's child, and you can do it. You wouldn't be sitting in this chair today, in this circle with me, if I didn't have faith that you could do it. And if you didn't have faith up until this moment that you can do it. So don't you turn back. Just keep on keeping on. The moment even comes to nations, that moment where you either cash it in or turn around, you go backwards instead of forward. And then maybe you hear that still small voice, or maybe you hear some inspiring word of encouragement and support, and you go forward another day? How many times must that moment to decide come in the hearts and minds of Ukrainians at this point in their life together as a nation? Once to every man or person and nation comes a moment to decide. Go on. Go on, Jesus says. I will be with thee. I will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. In conclusion, our New Year's journey has begun. Let's us have the faith and the courage to choose the road that is often less traveled by. Choose life and walk in love. Amen. For our final hymn, I invite you to sing on page 492, I Would Be True. This is an old hymn that I used to sing when I was in what used to be called Pilgrim Fellowship. Pilgrim Fellowship was what we came to know here as the youth group. But back in North Conway, when I was growing up, we would meet every Sunday night and have service and sing hymns. And this was one of my favorites from that time. I Would Be True. And now may we go in peace. May we go with love in our hearts. May we go with a spirit of empathy and caring. And may we go willing to take the journey and go forward with good spirit and love. Amen.
Amen. That's good.